All right, everybody, welcome back. Hope you didn't take any wooden nickels today. We got a lot of chatter about I don't know whatever the feds were talking about. I didn't really hear what exactly happened, nor am I too concerned with what I've seen so far with the markets since I've been at home looking at these charts. So without further ado, you know what we got to do. We got to go. First up is Bitcoin. Oh, my bad. Let me fix that. Alright, shouldn't have any more interruptions from the ring. Okay, so Bitcoin. Alright, so we had a little push up. Came back up. I just kind of realized that we were in a little bit of a downward channel on Bitcoin. And so I drew these lines in. And so I'm starting to see that we're starting to respect this channel also. Alright, it's been kind of in this channel here, but then we also, or this range, but then we also have this channel that's been kind of working against it. And so now it's starting in the after hours, starting to put in this little doji here. So we're going to see what happens tomorrow morning, if we're going to sell off or continue higher. But currently right now Bitcoin is actually sitting in this channel and looks like it wants to start to roll over and go back down. Kind of like it did here. You know, we got below our moving averages, but then we popped up, but we couldn't get past this point here. And then it sold off and got us back below our moving averages. Then we pushed up again, and now we're running into trouble again. So most likely we're going to probably retest this and maybe go higher or continue to sell off. Remains to be seen. But right now Bitcoin's pretty expensive, and I don't know who can afford to pay the prices that they're asking. Alright, next up, Bitcoin USD, same thing, still in that channel. Next up is oil, and the oil got a nice push up, and then here we are retesting this area here for some support, and maybe we're going to retest the next going back higher, so we can go up and retest this $83 area. Okay, but right now like we got have some support at about $78. Alright, so keep an eye on that on oil. Next up is gold. And please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so we can keep this going. Next up is gold, and gold pushed up and got above this resistance area, but we need to get a close above it and continue higher. So that's what we're trying to get right here on this little fella right here. We want that little fella to be a big fella come morning. Alright, next up, natural gas. Natural gas continues to push higher. Got a little bit of a pullback. Natural gas is kind of looking like you want to buy the dips. Okay, and we look like we might have some support in this area right here on natural gas. Okay, hold on, I got my channel maker here. Change that to my support line maker. Alright, so look for that to be our support area there, and if we don't hold, then we'll find another one. Okay, so that's natural gas. Next up is the NASDAQ, and the NASDAQ put in this nice green bar. Everybody was all excited about how much the NASDAQ had moved, and CNBC were just like talking all kind of crazy about it, but it did not get above or it got above our 8 and 9 SMAs, but didn't get up enough to or it did close above it, but we need a full bar to close above it. Same thing with the 20, and it's heading down, and we need a full bar to close above it before we can say that it's out of the danger zone. And currently it's still in the danger zone, and it looks like in the after hours we're getting a nice little this little fella right here, if he goes down further, then we're going to continue to sell off in the NASDAQ. If he goes up, then maybe we're going to go back up and retest this area up here, right? Which is now resistance that was support at one point. Okay, that's the NASDAQ. Alright, next up is silver. And silver, nice green bar. Now we got a nice little red doji coming in here. Looks like a tombstone. But we have to see what happens with that one also in the morning. It's going to pull back, find some support in this area in here, about our midway point, and then continue higher. But it's bullish, and we'll see what happens in the morning. But so far, from what I can tell, silver didn't enjoy all the excitement that a lot of the other financial stocks enjoyed today because of I guess we didn't get a rate cut or something like that. Anyway, I'll look further into it maybe this weekend. Anyhow, alright. Look for some support at 43,392. Oh, this is the Dow, by the way. Dow pushed up. See, it pushed up the last 3 days, but then it's back into this area where it ran into some resistance here before. Alright. So, take that there, activate it, and move it up to right there. Okay, so that resistance area hit again at 43,703. Keep an eye on that. If it doesn't break through that and find some support up here, then maybe we're going to turn around and head back down even lower on the Dow. But currently, this bar right here opened up above the 20-day. If it can open up tomorrow above the 20-day and continue higher, then we might be getting bullish in the Dow again. So keep an eye on that. Next up is corn, and corn continues to push higher. It's struggling a little bit, so keep an eye on that one. They may have a little bit of a pullback here real soon, but we got this nice green bar, and we got a nice half of that bar, and then we got this red that came in. Then we got another little green bar that kind of pushed up but couldn't break this red, and now we got another red coming in. So be careful with this one. Maybe we might get a little bit pull back into here, retest this 472 area for support, and then continue higher or pull back into these moving averages. Next up is Apple. And Apple got away from the 233 area, went up to retest this 237 area, and got rejected. Got our moving averages, 8 and 9 SMAs coming over, and our 20 rolling over. So let's see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow will be Thursday, so we may be pushing higher or coming back down in here in our little range that it's been bouncing around in, and then find some support here again at 233. We'll see what happens the next 2 days. Next up is Affirm, and Affirm putting in a nice little V bottom there. They may want to continue going higher, but they're all red, so be careful with these red bars on the Affirm. Even though they're keep going higher, they're red. Why are they red? Weird. Keep an eye on the firm, and if it can get up above this 20-day SMA, get a nice close above that, and may want to continue to go higher once we retest this area at $67. Alright, next up, AMD. AMD, I want to change that. I keep wanting to change it and I never do because I put it down anywhere I had it for a reason. So I'm going to change it anyway now, though. Alright, AMD, green bar, red bar, another green bar. And it came back and made sure that it closed the window. And now it pushed up. So looking kind of wanting to challenge this area here of that would be $122. Okay, so we'll see what happens, but almost got to it, couldn't quite make it. Got our moving averages coming down and acted as resistance, so be careful with AMD. It's still in the down market. Next up is Amazon, and Amazon had this little doji, had a little red bar here, little fat doji there, and the fat doji couldn't continue to push down. And today, with all the excitement, Amazon got a little pop up today, but it opened up higher, I think. Yeah, it was already high when it opened, so it was up there already when it opened. So, and it had to come back and gap fill. So it came back gap filled and pushed back up, but it still ran into this 20-day moving average. So be careful with Amazon. We're not totally sure we're ready to escape the pull of these moving averages down. All right. Next up is ARK. And ARK, same thing, and it put in a little fat doji, and so there's some indecision here if it wants to continue to go higher or sell off. So keep an eye on that one. Open up higher. We got to get up above this 20-day and close up here. A whole bar close above this 20-day to be convinced that, well, that bar did it, but it didn't. It wasn't convinced that it wanted to continue higher. It ran into some resistance here, so we need to close and a confirmation that we're going to continue higher. But right now it looks like it's running into some resistance here at the 8 and 9 and the 20-day. So we'll see what happens when we open up tomorrow. All right. Next up is AWK Waterworks, American Waterworks, and American Waterworks pushed up and then it sold off and came back into find some support here at 122. So we'll see what happens with that in the morning. If it's going to sell off and go lower, or if we're going to respect this 122 and then go higher and the moving averages roll over and help force it up, or if it's going to just run into and get rejected by this 20-day and sell off tomorrow. We'll see what happens come the morning. But right now it's the green turning red is not a good sign for American Waterworks. Next up is BITI, which is the ProShares Short Bitcoin ETF, and of course Bitcoin went up today, so it went down. So keep an eye on that for the next couple days. Next up is BOIL, BOIL, and steadily moving higher. Okay, so keep an eye on that one. Let's go back up and retest this $104 area. And BOIL is the Ultra Natural Gas ETF, Bloomberg Natural Gas ETF. Okay. Next up is Canopy Growth, and it's continuing to go lower. So say goodbye to that one. I'm not going to talk about that one again. It's bye-bye. All right. Next up is Chipotle Mexican Grill. And it's doing a little V-bottom thing too. Pushed up and then went down, sold off, and then pushed back up to close above this 200 moving exponential. It's got the 8 and 9 overhead acting as resistance, so we'll see what happens with that one tomorrow morning when we open up, and Friday. If it continues to push higher, then we know there's a change in how we're feeling about it, and we want to get back up here and retest the $66 area. And so far it looks like all of our windows have been closed, so we're safe with that also. Okay, next up with is corn, and I think we already talked about corn. Corn is not looking bad. Got a little pullback possibly going to happen, and so keep an eye on that. We may pull back into here and find some support at this area here, which is 1937. Okay. Next up is CRSR, Corsair Gaming, and Corsair Gaming is breaking out of its consolidation area and putting a nice green bar the last couple of days and pushing higher. Got above its the $8 mark here, which is our little range that we were in, or channel, or our consolidation area. and looks like it wants to continue going higher. It wants to retest this, um, retest these moving averages, the 200 SMA and the 200 moving exponential. So keep an eye on that. If we get another good bar pushing up higher above these two and come back down and find some support on them, and these all roll over and roll up, then we're going to be in the up market. And of course, their gaming wants to keep going. But right now, we need to get above these moving averages. Okay. Next up is DRIP, Direction Shares, Bear, 2X shares, oil and gas. Continue to sell off, which means oil and gas should be going higher. Yep, nice green bar too. Okay, oil and gas going higher, natural gas, same thing. Okay, which gives us our DRIP selling off. Alright, next up, Dust, which is our daily gold miners bear. 2X ETF, and it's continuing to sell off. Next up is EXE, Expand Energy, continues to go higher, retesting this 107.31 area is the next stop. Once it gets above that, look for a check back, retest for support before going higher. If this goes up and gets rejected, then look for it to come back down in here somewhere, maybe even to this 101 for some support to get some counseling before trying to go back up and retest that 107. Somebody's got to tell it how great it really is before it can find the energy to try to go back and try it again. Next up is Fastly, and Fastly popped up a little bit here, getting outside of our little range that we were in. Retesting these moving averages. This one's flat, so it's not really messing with it too much. This 200 moving exponential. So if it can pop above that and get above this 20-day, we may be off to the races and maybe going back to retest this $12 area. All right. Next up, GBTC popped up. Got to close above our moving averages, our 20-day and our 8 and 9 SMA. Couldn't get above this area here though, which was a rejection area in the past. Right? Got rejected there. Got rejected here in the same area. Let's draw that line so we can see it better. Alright, so we got rejected here today, here in the past. Here it kind of straddled it. Here it came back and used it as support before breaking down through below it. And here it just kind of straddled it, straddled it, straddled it, straddled it, straddled it. So it's definitely an area where there's some concern. And then here it, went up, touched it, but couldn't break it, pull back. That's when we got our straddles, and then another pullback, and then straddles, and then break out. Alright, so keep an eye on that one. This is definitely a rejection area, and currently it looks like it's getting rejected. Next up, GME, and GME is still tinkering around, down around $27. I didn't sell my position. I thought I was going to, but I don't know. I guess I'm just underdog. I believe in the underdog, I guess. I don't know how much, who sold all the shares right here, if it's just a manipulation that's been forced down from these hedge funds, but that's a pretty big bar down to there. And then it couldn't follow through. You know what I'm saying? It just kind of went down here and stopped. So what's that all about? Okay, so we'll see what happens with GME. But currently it's still in the uptrending market, but it looks like a sell until we get down in here and find some support. Next up is gold, and gold consolidated. Now I put it in a nice little doji. It opens up higher tomorrow. Expected to continue higher. Next up is Google. Same thing with Google, popped up a little bit, but it's still in this channel or this range. So when you get out of this range here, out of this past this bar here at I don't think it's much to worry about. We want to get above this 197 area and continue higher. If not, we want to stay above this 191 area. Alright, so that's Google. Next up is Gush. And Gush continues to push higher because we know oil is going higher. Next up is JDST, and it's selling off because it is the gold miners. JDST is the bear 2X ETF, so it's selling off because we know our gold is continuing to higher. Next up is JILL, and it had some pullback in here, but it couldn't pull back enough to close the deal. Now it's put in a nice little green bar here, a hammer almost. Yeah, I guess it's a hammer here with the 20-day and the 8 overhead, and it also has the 200 overhead. So we'll see what happens with this hammer, if we can get enough momentum to break free tomorrow. Alright, currently Jill is looking like it's a fighter. We'll see what happens in the next few days. Next up is JNUG, which is the Junior Gold Bull ETF. So this is the bull, and the other one was the bear. JNUG is the bull, and Dust is the bear. But anyway, looks good. Trying to push through these moving averages or this trade wins. We can get above these trade wins, retest this area, come back, find some support, and then go higher. That's what we should do. Next up, Kohl's. And Kohl's is not doing very well. The only reason I added this to here is because I was pumping it up like crazy for a while before the end of the year. And I really thought Kohl's was gonna, turn it around and do good. But maybe we're waiting for the earnings report before it starts to show the promise that it can go higher. And earnings comes out on March 18th. Next up, LABD, which is Direxon Daily S&P Biotech Bear 3X ETF. Got a little doji there. Pushed up, sold off, pushed up. It's just been playing around all day long today. So keep an eye on it. If you open up lower, of course we're going to go lower. If it opens up higher, of course we're going to go higher. Alright. Next up is LABU, which is the inverse of LABD. Okay, a little doji. So we want to see it push higher or pull back or... Our moving average is rolling over, so be careful with this one. If these 200s roll over also, then we're going to go lower. We're going to sell off. That's LABU. Doji. Down market. We get a little bit of a pop. We need to get above these moving averages. If we don't, expect it to continue lower. Next up is Lake, and Lake continues to push higher. Alright, nice little trend moving higher. Alright, green bar, red bar, green took out red. Trying to go higher. Next stop is 29.55, and it closed above and a retest of or just to close. Currently it's in the up market and it's a buy. Buy the dip. Next up is Macy's, and Macy's has fallen. And you can see, not doing too good. I'm keeping an eye on Macy's, but Macy's right now is in a down market and it's continuing to sell. Didn't make the holiday trade on Macy's. Holiday trade is not looking good. Next up is the 428 is the Microsoft, and Microsoft is pushing higher. Retesting this previous high that turned to support, and now it's resistance again. Alright, put in a nice green bar. Volume wasn't too great, but it wasn't too bad either. Coming up to retest this 428 area. We'll see what happens comes tomorrow morning. We need to get above it, close above it, and before retesting this 450 area. Okay, so that's Microsoft. Next up is MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy got a little reprieve. It popped up. Our doji opened up with a green doji up overhead. Didn't really do much of anything, just kind of, popping around here like a little satellite or something. But it did have enough to go higher. So we'll see what happens tomorrow, if it got enough to push up and retest this area at 379, or if it's going to open up lower and go back down in here and retest this area for support. Alright, next up, Netflix, which was looking like a sell, and it got this little green bar in today, but it wasn't like a big green bar, it was just a little, like, alright, we're going to try to turn this ship around, but I don't think it's going to happen. So what we're going to do is be careful with Netflix, because it looks like a sell still. Alright. Next up is Russell Hustle. Get him in a tussle. And it is above our 20-day, but got an overhead resistance. Russell got above our 20-day and our 8-9 SMA, so we need to get above this 220.85 area, come back for some support, continue higher. Currently nobody wants to, never mind. Next up is RWM, which is the inverse of the Russell, and you can see it selling off because the Russell's going higher. Right, yeah, going higher. RWM, Russell support, ProShares short, Bear ETF, sell. Alright, so that's it. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for the next one, and we still got to go, so be careful out there. These markets are crazy.